Here we have a PR2 fork on a KTM 65SX. I just bought this bike used, and it had a PR2 fork system installed by the previous owner, or he had sent it out to get it installed. So it was last serviced 5 years ago. I knew I'd be rebuilding the forks, so I tried to do some online research, figure out what to expect with opening these up, and I couldn't find any answers. Nobody had made any videos about this, so I contacted the manufacturer, PR2, get some answers, and well, I already did this fork, and the reason for this video is to kind of show you guys what to expect if you have a PR2 fork on a KTM 65. So obviously you'll pull the fork off the bike like usual. Loosen up the top clamp of the triple clamp. Loosen up the top, loosen the top cap of the fork. Then you could loosen these up, drop the fork off after you remove the brakes and the front wheel. So that one's actually already been done. This is up next. I've started the disassembly. So the top cap is held in place by a lock nut here, so they're turned against each other. You'll break them loose, then remove the top cap. Then the nut here. All right, so the outer fork tube. So now on the bottom here, you'll have the seal. I've already popped the seal off and everything. So you'll have the retaining clip you have to remove. You have to pry out of there. Then the seal, it's pretty cold where I am now, so I had to heat up the outer fork tube a little bit and, pull it off as you normally would with any other fork. So that'll come off. Comes up and out of there. Now, all of these things, you can leave them. If you're not going to replace the seals or bushings or whatever, you can leave it. It doesn't have to go anywhere. So at this point, you'll have, I think it was like 10 milliliters of fluid up here, so you could dump it before you pull the tube off. Now, at this part, you'll need a special tool. I had to go to PR2 to get this. It was $60, and it drops right in here. So it's this orange piece is threaded to the inner fork tube. So you'll have to heat it up. There's a lot of thread lock here to keep it in place, and it took a lot of force, but eventually I broke it loose, got it out. I did try using a pin spanner here, and I bent it, broke it, because it's under a lot of tension, a lot of torque. So you'll need that tool. Loosen this up, and at this point you could tip it over, drain all the fluid, get it out of there. That's old, in this case it was really old and dirty. So this will just come out now. Drop it in place. You have the fork spring inside, and down at the bottom there's a little spring alignment piece. I don't know. It was in good shape. I dropped it back in there. So drain the fluid, and now we're ready to put it all back together. So at this point, you could put your fluid back in. Now my fork had a tag on it which had 240 milliliters of fluid on the lower fork here, fork tube, and then 15 milliliters in the top tube over here. So if you guys don't have a sticker like that, I did ask PR2 if you could mess with the fluid levels to change the characteristics of the suspension. They said no, it's supposed to take 240 in the lower and 15 in the upper, so make sure you do that. I am going to put in 5-weight fork oil. It's for my 8-year-old nephew. So, hopefully it works out well for him. We'll see when it's on it. So at this point, what we'll do is put some, 240 milliliters in here. We won't dump it all in. We'll go to the top of the spring here. Then we'll drop the valves in place slowly. and you could pull this orange, the rubber seal and the orange piece, you could pull it up out of the way so you could drop a little bit more oil up to the bottom of these holes, otherwise it'll spill over. From that point, drop these in place, thread it down, lock it down, and then you could add a little bit more oil through these holes. They do, you know, two of the holes are drilled out to drain to the inside, so you'll get a little bit of fluid going through there, but you could add some through there. And once that's down and locked down, put the upper fork tube, outer fork tube back on. You could put the seals in place, knock them in place, put the top cap and the nut first, top cap all the way down, then you drive the lock nut up to the top cap. Put your 15 milliliters of fluid, 15 millimeters in here, milliliters. Thread that upper tube to the top cap, and that's it. You're locked and loaded, ready to ride. So, you know, that's it. Nothing crazy, but hopefully, you know, this helps you out.